Hey people, Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel. Thanks for joining, liking, subscribing, and all that jazz, and being part of the channel and commenting below. I read most of the comments if I can. Anyways, what is happening? Well, inflation to take down the world. Well, inflation. It's some mainstream medias are covering it like it's the new religion, it's the new climate change, it's the new everything. But inflation is the underlying killer of all sorts, of all that's going to bring down entire nations and crumble into dust. So before I get all dramatic here, let's take a look at what's happening, and then we're in the Canadian sector and move into more of an international sector, because 2022 will be the year of the protest, like we predicted back in 2019. So let's take a look. Well, here it is. Better Dwelling is reporting. What are they reporting? Canada's inflation hits a 39-year high. Experts say the problem is far from over. So there it is right there. Canada's inflation data came in lower than expected, but still advanced to a new high. The June Consumer Price Index, CPI, from Stats Canada, you could go there and look at it, showed the highest annual growth since 1983. It was less than the market expected, but still accelerating and way above target. Experts see the elevated inflation requiring a contraction to correct it to target. Correct it to target, what do they mean? Well, they're going to have to raise interest rates, right? So there's the CPI, and there's the CPI excluding gasoline, right? Canada's CPI ripped higher, largely due to the price of gasoline. So they're going to always find the culprit, right? Gasoline. So what have we been saying on this channel? We'll get to that later. Annual growth came in at 8.1% in June, the largest annual growth since January 1983. So you guys remember what happened in 1981-82 in the States, right? Despite markets expecting higher inflation and this being a relief, it was 0.4 points higher than May. Price growth isn't just high, but it's still accelerating. Canadian inflation is now growing at the fastest rate since 1983. So what did they do back in the early 80s to curb inflation? What did they do? Well, they raised interest rates. I heard of some absorbent rates of 16.9%, 14.4%, 10.7% in some parts. I've heard stories from just across the country of what rates of people that were in that time. Some people lost their properties, but then some people managed to maintain and pay it off, like my parents did. How did they do it? Well, again, they didn't buy a house, they didn't over-leverage themselves, and they didn't buy themselves a home that they couldn't afford to pay, even if interest rates went to 50%. So they they put a huge down payment, and they made sure that we had a house to raise the family. So there it is. There's Canadian inflation is now growing at the fastest rate since 1983. So let's go into Canada's inflation might be close to peak, but it's still very high. Well, let's see what's going on here. The CTV News, the mainstream media fake news, is actually reporting this. I'm surprised they're not reporting the heat wave, climate change 24/7, but they're actually talking about inflation here. So Canada's annual inflation rate rises to 8.1%. So now, if you put everything back in the basket that they removed originally, I think our inflation's close to 13, 14, 15, double-digit inflation that we've been calling it here. Double-digit runaway inflation. Ottawa, Canada's annual inflation rate rose 8.1%. Okay, so there it is right there. So there's the graph right there. This graph shows you too the same thing that the other one did. And it looked like they had inflation under control here for some reason, and then boom, and it just took right off. And of course they're going to be blaming gas, but what were they blaming back here? I don't know. I gotta check the records. I gotta see what it was. What were they blaming? Was this the Iraq 1 war? No, it was 93, right? So okay, let's keep going here. Excluding gasoline, the inflation rate was 6.5%. So without the gasoline, but what about all the other things they removed from the inflation rate basket that they removed because it would be absorbently high? That's what they're not adding. So I'm urging Better Dwelling to make a actual rate revealance of what inflation rate revealance of what interest rates, what inflation should be at. What inflation should be at with everything added to the basket. So everything that was removed to curb or make inflation look not too bad, let's add everything that we like. Let's pretend. I'm trying to say here, let's pretend we were looking at it like we had the inflation rate adjustments, and we're using the same guidelines that they used, let's say, back in 1974 or 75. We'll take that adjustment reasoning or adjustment and guidelines and gauges that they used back then in today's time by adding everything back in. What would inflation really be at? I think it'd be at 14 or 16%, easy. Housing, everything's been out of reach for so many years already. Now, food and oil and gas, I mean, that's been happening for years now, before the you-know-what, right? They can't blame the you-know-what anymore, because I don't know what they're going to blame now. So sorry about that, guys. I'm kind of falling over my own words here. So there it is right there. So inflation has officially hit 8.1%, broken another record in Canadian history. That's from Venture. That's bringing us this. So there it is right there. And Governor Malcolm assures Canadians that high inflation is not here to stay. It actually is going to get worse, in my opinion, and it's going to get a lot higher and going to get rampant. And what's happening? Well, massive uprising erupts in Panama over inflation and deteriorating economic conditions. Again, inflation is going to be the death of us via taxation and other ways, but there it is right there. The citizens of Central American nation Panama have engaged the government in mass demonstrations as they protest the surging inflation and deteriorating economy. So, Gateway Pundit is reporting it too. There it is there from the other day. And we're seeing it here, get people taking to the streets. And what does this remind you of? What does this remind you of? What we talked about the other day in Sri Lanka. To me, I've been watching Pakistan really close. It looks like Pakistan might enter a civil war. It really might. I think Pakistan will enter a civil war in the next couple of weeks. And right now, it is the year of the protest. All of Europe is protesting. And you see Biden trying to announcing a national emergency of climate change again. Midterm elections coming to the States, all these other things happening. So, massive protests over skyrocketing inflations, and they're blocking roads just like they started in Sri Lanka, and then they're going to not be able to buy gas in Panama, and it's going to keep eroding. So, there it is, and there is some video clip. It's on Twitter, so I could probably play that there. There it is right there. There's the people there. They're just sick and tired. This is what happened back in 2019 in Panama, and it happened in all of pretty much Central and South America, except Honduras. Every country was pretty much protesting like this, and they got pretty violent in Argentina and in Chile back in 2019. And electricity prices were going through the roof, and the cost of living was just getting out of reach for most South and Central Americans. And they're having the same problem in France and all kinds of problems in Hong Kong. It was just a never-ending protests all over the world. So what have we been talking about on the channel? Well, taste the inflation, world inflation, hyperinflation will destroy your savings and your dreams. A world of inflation, it's going to become a world thing, and we talked about that long ago. Wages not keeping up with inflation. Lower rates ahead versus wages productivity explained 3 years ago. What else did we talk? Inflation is killing us. A year. It's more than a year, guys, because when you look at the date, it's going to be like a year, 11 months ago. You know, so I don't know why YouTube does that every time. Biden blames everyone on everything on runaway. Biden blames everyone and everything on runaway inflation. More pain ahead. So, Mike in the Night, inflation to the moon. We need a war to hide double-digit inflation. That's more than 2 years, guys. So if you open the link and see it, it's actually like it's going to be like 2 years, 10 months ago. So the great Canadian peso's coming. Interest rates are headed to 9% by 2022. 3 years ago plus. So there it is right there. Food getting more expensive, and I've been warning people for the longest time about the whole food. There's the Sri Lanka food riots ahead we did 3 weeks ago. And food prices to increase 67% in 2022. That was late last year. And just trying to see, yeah, right here. 60% of Canadian parents worried they won't be able to feed their families. That was 7 months ago. So there it is, guys. It's here. The writing is here. It's been here all this time, right? And we talked about 2022 will be the year of the protest. Again, it has to be, because it all cycles back, right? There's the year of the bail-in, the year of the protest in 2019. 2018 was the year of the bail-in, 2019 the year of the protest, the year of the lockdown 2020, 2021 you know what, and 2022 is the year of the protest again. And so there it is right there, and we've been seeing all of these happening all over the world. And this is the episode of Mike in the Night you want to watch. This is the one from 2 years, 9 months ago, or 10 months ago. Worldwide protests, Mike in the Night. It's in your head, zombie climate lockdowns. So you're going to want to watch that one, because it actually is going to be, look, disturbances in Spain. It's just over and over. Look, Chile, civil unrest before the you-know-what. There it is right there at Santiago riots. It was just, this one was pretty violent, though. They were actually, like, really protesting for the right things. Here we go. Look, so people asked to do more food videos. I made them. I already warned people. Food prices up another 4%. If oil goes up, we are screwed. $185 worth of food. There it is right there. And it's nonstop, guys. Like, so I kind of wanted, there was one video I had here with Cobra Commander. I want to show you guys here with Cobra Commander. Let me see if I could find it. It's actually kind of scary when you see it. I can't find it. There was one with Cobra Commander on it, and it's kind of important because North Korea asked starving citizens to eat less. Food shortages expected to continue. There's one here with Cobra Commander talking about China and how basically they're pushing for climate lockdowns to lock down the world because look at this, food costing more than my rent 5 years ago. I haven't lived here in 7 years, so I don't even know why they're doing that. But inflation is going to destroy us. It's coming. It's going to get hard. It's going to get out of control. And the same governments that have been misleading us for all this time are going to continuously have to mislead us going forward purposely so that they keep their jobs in the public sector so they can enjoy the increase in payments and increase as the price of everything goes up. The public sector workers will enjoy their raises every couple of months to hedge against inflation, while us in the private sector are struggling and starving to feed our families. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I look forward to reading your comments. I love reading your comments and seeing what you guys got going down, what's happening in your neck of the woods. So I'll see you guys this Saturday too. Don't forget, Mike in the Night on Odyssey, live. Don't forget to join us. And guys, calm down in the comment section. There's just an enormous amount of fighting last Mike in the Night in the comment section. Just calm down, guys, please. Anyways, Mike Martins here. I have spoken.